Yeah, so on the data challenges around ESG, the thing I'd say is that, there isn't a one size fits all approach to getting ESG data. Each scheme will have its own specific nuances and preferences in terms of how it receives that ESG data across its portfolio. Some uh, pension schemes will go direct to an ESG data provider and sort of plug that ESG data into their systems to then manage those ESG risks and better understand those climate change metrics as well as a part of the sort of TCFD. So we're seeing that in practice. And some are also relying on their asset manager to pull, data and relevant data within the reports. And I think the tricky part around relying solely on your asset manager for understanding your ESG risks and your climate change risks is, what happens in a situation where you have multiple managers who are using different ESG data providers with different ESG methodologies, rating methodologies, and sort of data gathering methodologies. And so, in an example where a scheme employs 10 external asset managers, you're potentially receiving 10 different reports with 10 different methodologies, and you as a scheme and as a trustee you have to sort of collate all that data into one report that makes sense, covering your ESG risks and your, TCFD metrics and targets that you're trying to set. And so, from our perspective and what we've seen in the industry, and particularly in our experience in the Netherlands with Dutch pension schemes, is that there is value in sort of single source of truth reporting and having that independent and objective approach to understanding what your ESG risks and climate change risks are. It's part of a sort of best-in-class governance model, if you want to call it that way. And that objectivity just makes sure that the asset managers aren't marking their own homework in a way. And currently, with the way that ESG data standards are and ESG data methodologies are, it isn't standardized across the board.